In the dimly lit alley, the sound of dripping blood echoed around me, causing my heart to race uncontrollably.
Please, spare me. I have rent to pay and debts to settle. I'm begging you, let me live. I'll do anything you ask.
5 minutes ago, Anna had just entered the game and landed directly at the crime scene. As soon as she opened her eyes, she saw a man holding a knife dripping with blood.
Oh, could you give me a hand?
The man twirled the knife, looking at her clumsy act with a smirk.
You were running pretty fast just now.
Heaven and earth can testify, I blacked out the moment I walked in.
So you're saying you went blind as soon as you walked in?
Jack placed the blood-stained knife against Anna's neck.
Please, spare me. I have rent to pay and debts to settle. I'm begging you, let me live. I'll do anything you ask.
Jack Miller dragged her home by her collar, treating her as a captive.
Show me your sincerity.
He made Anna responsible for cleaning, and thus she started a new round of labor within the game. She tried to escape, but each time she reached the door, Jack would appear silently, forcing her to give up.
His mocking gaze is too obvious.
After days of secretly watching TV and extreme interactions with Jack Miller, she finally got a basic understanding of the game. There's a vicious serial killer in the game, with several victims already. The authorities have yet to find a common link among the victims, and the killer is still at large.
1. Investigate the truth. 2. Stay alive.
So, I have to deduce the motive from the killer's actions.
Holding a broom, Anna wailed. She thought she was here to experience a dating sim, but this task was way beyond her.
Unless I can win over Jack Miller. After all, he's quite handsome. Maybe I can treat this as a dating sim?
As the saying goes, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Anna spent a long time in the kitchen and placed her creation on the dining table, looking at him expectantly.
Take it away.
Why? Food is essential, you can't go without eating.
You call this food?
She looked down at the blackened mess, feeling a bit guilty.
It just looks a little unappetizing.
Just a little?
Jack turned away. Plan F failed.
Another saying goes, appropriate physical contact can warm up feelings.
She watched Jack Miller walk up the stairs and hurriedly ran towards him, then tripped over her own feet and fell. Jack swiftly sidestepped, leaning against the wall.
He dodged?
In a panic, she grabbed the handrail, saving herself from a painful split.
Trying to scam me?
Plan B failed. Anna had no choice but to resort to her ultimate move, cheesy pick. The tension in the air was palpable as Jack glared at me.
Jack, I'm looking for a way to your heart.
If you dare run off, I'll break your legs.
At least he didn't let me finish.
Jack, you're a bit annoying today, but in a charming way.
Are you tired of living?
Jack Miller! Can you let me finish my sentence?
A cold flash of a dagger appeared at my throat. I dropped to my knees with a practiced ease.
Jack, I'm sorry, really.
He's even harder to deal with than a demanding client. Jack looked like he was trying not to laugh. I knew I was being pathetically quick to surrender.
What do you want?
Careful, Jack, blades are dangerous. I just want to get along with you, hoping you won't hurt me.
Do your job well, and I won't touch you for now.
He stood up, put on his coat, and walked to the door, pulling out an umbrella.
I'm going out for a bit. Don't even think about running away, or you'll regret it.
Don't worry, I'll be here waiting for you, rain or shine.
As the door closed with a bang, I let out a small sigh of relief. Great, now I need to use my brain and figure things out. Finally, with Jack out, I could explore the place. After searching through 2 floors, I found a diary with only a few pages left inside a pillow in the bedroom. March 18th, light rain. Uncle and Uncle were arguing outside the door. Neither wanted to take me in. Why didn't Mom and Dad take me with them? April 26th, cloudy. Today, Uncle sent me to a fully enclosed boarding school. Everyone here seems strange. I want to go home. May 9th, heavy rain. This is not a school at all. I must find a way to escape. May 28th, sunny. I finally escaped. The truth is, those who wronged me, I will make them pay. The diary ended abruptly. The fragmented entries were a nightmare to piece together. Worried that Jack might return, I quickly put the diary back and resumed my cleaning, lost in thought.
What truth did he discover?
Just as I was scratching my head in frustration, I heard the door open.
Jack, you're back!
Jack looked displeased, drenched from head to toe, and the umbrella was gone. Instead, he held 2 boxes of barbecue pork rice, which he tossed onto the table before heading upstairs without a word.
Men are so unpredictable.
When he came back down, Jack had changed into a shirt and slacks. Honestly, if I hadn't seen his crime scene with my own eyes, his long legs and slim waist would have been quite attractive. Jack remained silent. I took a few bites of my food, sneaking glances at him, while the TV's noise filled the room.
This afternoon at 3 p.m., a male body was found in the suburbs. The deceased has been identified as the headmaster of Qingxi Boarding School. The case is currently under investigation.
Hearing this, I turned sharply to look at Jack, who was also looking at me. Were you out meeting your targets this afternoon?
He raised an eyebrow, his face dark. What do you think?
I think I'll go wash the dishes now, haha.
I grabbed my dishes and rushed to the kitchen, washing them while replaying the news in my mind. A boarding school? Could it be that coincidental? Could the truth be related to the school, making him seek revenge after all these years? Lost in thought, a soft male voice suddenly whispered in my ear.
What are you thinking about?
Startled, I turned to see Jack Miller's face. Reflexively, I stepped back, only to slip on some spilled dishwater and fall backward.
Whoa, careful there.
Jack reacted quickly, catching me around the waist and pulling me into his arms. My hands landed on his shoulders, and as I looked up in a panic, I saw his Adam's apple bobbing. He was looking down at me too. So close. The silence was filled only with the sound of our heartbeats. I quickly averted my gaze, and Jack released his hold on my waist.
You've been clumsy all day. What were you mumbling about just now?
Nothing. I stammered, my face flushing as I looked down, trying to cool the heat on my cheeks. Suddenly, I felt a cool sensation on my ear. I looked up to see Jack touching the tip of my ear with his fingers.
Your ears are really red.
I'll get back to work, I said, then rushed back to the basement. The closeness just now, I could even see the tiny hairs on his face. I immediately scrubbed 30 knives in anger. Work really does help calm the mind. By the time I finished cleaning, it was already 11 o'clock. Moving quietly under the dim light of the wall lamp, I tiptoed upstairs. As I passed Jack's room, I heard soft whimpering from inside. I touched the door, intending to listen more closely, but it opened with a gentle push. After a moment of hesitation, I decided to go in. If he was in trouble, maybe I could help and earn some goodwill. I entered in the dark, and as my eyes adjusted, I finally made out the figure on the bed. Jack was lying on his back, his brows furrowed, his face flushed unnaturally, and he occasionally let out a pained whimper. I helped Jack sit up and gave him some medicine and water, which he obediently swallowed. Seeing him gradually calm down, I reached out to check his temperature again. Just then, a hand grabbed my wrist and pulled me down, causing me to fall onto him. Could he be waking up now? I looked up anxiously, but Jack's eyes remained closed, and I breathed a sigh of relief. Then, as he fumbled with the blanket, he wrapped me in it, pulling me into his embrace. His soft hair brushed against my chin, and his warm breath hit my neck, bringing back memories of the kitchen. Feeling a bit flustered, I swallowed hard and carefully tried to pry his hand off my waist with my fingertips, but it wouldn't budge. After struggling in vain, I finally drifted off to sleep in the warm embrace, having always worried he might come to harm me in the middle of the night. When I regained consciousness, sunlight was streaming onto my face. I squinted and moved my neck slightly. Why is the pillow so hard today?
How long are you planning to sleep?
The familiar voice jolted me awake. I looked up to see Jack staring at me. Have you changed your strategy to survival by offering yourself? No. You had a fever last night, and I came in to give you medicine. You wouldn't let go of me, so I accidentally fell asleep. Jack said nothing. Following his gaze, I realized my hands were wrapped around his waist. Help, is there no surveillance to clear my name?
It's not entirely out of the question.
Before I could react, Jack leaned down and planted a light kiss on the corner of my lips, smiling. Ah! I screamed, covering my mouth with both hands. Had he lost his mind from the fever? Though I often talked big, this was too much. I sprinted back to the basement at top speed and gulped down a pot of water, trying to calm myself. As expected of me, the master of talking big. Fortunately, this is just a game, and Jack Miller only likes to scare me with words. After figuring it out, I opened the basement door and found Jack leaning against the doorframe.
Are you mad?
I shook my head.
How could I dare?
You've already climbed into my bed. What wouldn't you dare?
I was furious.
If I had known, I would have let you burn to a crisp.
Jack stepped forward, and I quickly took a step back, hugging myself. He stopped.
Be good. I'll send you home in 2 months.
Is he just giving me false hope?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, go ahead.
I stared at his face.
Why did you harm those people?
Jack's face darkened immediately.
Do you know what they say about curiosity in cats?
Then he turned and left without mercy, leaving me with a view of his nonchalant back. I quickly followed Jack's steps, but he suddenly stopped at the last step of the stairs, causing me to bump into him. Tears streamed down my face from the pain. He bent down to wipe my tears.
Why are you following me so closely?
How was I supposed to know you'd stop without warning?
TSK, why do you cry so much?
He cupped my face in his hands, his thumb gently wiping away my tears. He looked at me deeply and sighed softly.
You really do look a bit like
what?
Like a stray dog at the door.
He straightened up and walked upstairs. What? He made me bump my nose and then called me a dog? What a jerk! I angrily followed him to the hall, just about to explode, when the doorbell suddenly rang. Jack walked over to open the door. Hesitating, I stood behind him to see who it was. Outside was a middle-aged man in his 40s or 50s. He was momentarily stunned when he saw Jack.
Jack, I heard you came back home, so I came to see you.
His gaze then fell on me.
And this is?
Jack pulled me out from behind him.
This is my girlfriend.
He looked down at me.
This is my uncle, John Carter.
Uncle? Great, a clue delivered right to my doorstep. Thinking of this, my smile brightened a bit, and I greeted the man cheerfully.
Hello, Uncle.
The man was stunned for a few seconds before greeting me back, then he became a bit emotional.
When the teacher said you were missing, I searched for a long time but couldn't find you. I'm so glad you're back, otherwise, how could I face your parents?
Yeah, I couldn't focus on my studies, so I went out to start a business.
Jack didn't seem to want to talk about the past.
As long as you're safe. Can I stay for a few days to catch up with you?
Of course.
Then he led John upstairs to find a guest room to rest. I sat on the sofa, feeling confused. Isn't he afraid of being discovered by leaving him here? Footsteps sounded on the stairs. Looking up, I saw only Jack coming down. Could he have already dealt with his uncle? Maybe my expression was too horrified because he paused when he saw me, then walked towards me with a strange expression and gently embraced me.
What's wrong, my dear girlfriend? Do you want to go up and join him too?
Narrator, tone, serious. Before he finished his sentence, my legs instinctively went weak, and I almost knelt down. He caught me by the waist and pulled me up.
Jack, tone, cheerful, you little coward.
Narrator, tone, serious. Is there no justice anymore? He scared me again. Narrator, tone, serious. However, with John Carter's arrival, I stayed on the couch chatting and got a more comprehensive understanding of Jack Miller's story. He was the sole survivor of a tragic incident in high school. After much debate among his relatives, it was decided that his uncle would take care of him until he came of age, with 15% of the family assets as compensation.
John, tone, serious. I was too busy back then, so I sent Jack to a boarding school. I never expected him to go missing, but thankfully, he's back now.
Narrator, tone, serious. I rolled my eyes silently. It was clear he wanted something for nothing, taking so much money but unwilling to find someone to care for Jack. No wonder Jack's psyche was so twisted.
Me, tone, serious. Don't worry, Uncle. Jack is doing exceptionally well under my care.
Narrator, tone, serious. Jack glanced at me, a mocking smile tugging at his lips, as if reminding me of that coal I had burned.
John, tone, hopeful. That's good. So, how did you two meet?
Me, tone, cheerful. Jack was a hero saving a damsel in distress in an alley, and then he fell in love with me at first sight. Right, Jack?
Jack, tone, cheerful. Yes, love at first sight.
Narrator, tone, serious. John Carter's expression seemed to falter. He forced a smile.
John, tone, shy. That's great. I'm a bit tired today. Let's continue tomorrow.
Narrator, tone, serious. With that, he got up and headed upstairs. Seeing this, I also prepared to go to my room to rest. Jack followed me, and as we passed his bedroom, he wrapped his arm around my waist.
Jack, tone, serious. You're my girlfriend. Where do you think you're going to sleep?
Me, tone, serious. Of course, I'm going back to my guest room.
Jack, tone, serious that would give us away.
Narrator, tone, serious without giving me a chance to argue, he pushed me into his bedroom and locked the door. I quickly retreated to the windowsill, hugging myself. He turned around, saw my stance, and burst out laughing.
Jack, tone, cheerful you little coward, what are you doing?
Me, tone, serious, just so you know, I'm only here for the performance.
Narrator, tone, serious he pulled out a pocket knife, flipping it in his hand as he approached me.
Jack, tone, serious is this not okay?
Me, tone, sad you already kissed me this morning. Why do you keep using the same trick?
Narrator, tone, serious Jack folded the knife and tossed it onto the table, then turned and sat on the couch.
Jack, tone, friendly come sit.
Narrator, tone, serious I hesitated, unwilling to move forward. Seeing this, he softened his tone.
Jack, tone, whispering come on, I won't bully you.
Narrator, tone, serious he picked up the wine on the coffee table, poured a little into 2 glasses, handed one to me, and then took a sip himself.
Jack, tone, serious do you know what happened back then?
Me, tone, serious if you tell me, you won't silence me, right?
Jack, tone, exasperated don't worry, I promised I wouldn't harm you. It was actually a series of incidents back then. The perpetrator targeted middle-aged men with happy lives, and I happened to escape because I was at school. Jack, tone, sad the ridiculous part is, after he was caught, he confessed to all his crimes but firmly denied the accusations from my family.
Narrator, tone, serious wait, this case sounds familiar. Narrator, tone, serious I once had a client who needed a script based on a real case, so I had scoured the internet for various cases as reference material. And the case Jack was describing was one I had read about in an interview. The perpetrator had severe psychological issues due to childhood abuse from an alcoholic father, leading to a series of self-proclaimed acts of vengeance. He had indeed denied one of the accusations. Narrator, tone, serious I was a bit stunned. Could this game be based on that case?
Jack, tone, sad later, my uncle and another relative didn't want the trouble of taking care of me, but they were eyeing my parents' assets. So, they decided my uncle would take me in.
Narrator, tone, serious this matched what I had learned earlier. I nodded in understanding.
Me, tone, serious, but he wanted the money without the responsibility, so he sent you to a boarding school?
Narrator, tone, serious Jack poured me another glass of wine, his smile tinged with melancholy.
Jack, tone, sad at the time, I didn't want to cause him any trouble, so I had no complaints.
Narrator, tone, serious maybe it was the alcohol amplifying my emotions, but hearing this, my empathy overflowed.
Me, tone, friendly, you should have just cut ties with him right away.
Narrator, tone, serious Jack was stunned for a few seconds, then couldn't help but laugh, patting my head.
Jack, tone, cheerful you have a point.
Narrator, tone, serious he cleared his throat and continued.
Jack, tone, sad when I went to that school, I faced some unfair treatment. I went to the teachers, but they didn't care.
Narrator, tone, serious. The tension was palpable as I took another swig of my drink, trying to ease the weight of the conversation.
That's so pathetic. No wonder you ran away from that school.
Jack Miller silently rolled up his shirt sleeve, revealing faint scars on his arm, clearly from cigarette burns.
Jack, these scars.
I couldn't help but trace the marks with my fingertips. Tears welled up as I blinked them away, feeling a mix of dizziness and sorrow.
I haven't even cried. Why are you crying?
just thinking about it hurts, hick.
Jack gently pulled me into his arms, wiping away my tears.
Later, I ran away and went to his house for help. I overheard him telling my aunt that he committed crimes to take over the inheritance from my grandparents. He said I was just a grandson and didn't even carry the family name, so I had no right to the money. He and that principal conspired to make me disappear.
Suddenly, all the clues connected, and my previous doubts were answered.
Don't cry, don't cry. Crying too much will make you look like a pig.
Jack almost laughed, but before he could say anything, I kissed him under the influence of alcohol. The kiss started softly, but he quickly took control, holding me and deepening the kiss. Maybe it was the repeated kisses causing oxygen deprivation, or maybe it was the alcohol, but I gradually lost consciousness and fell asleep.
You little coward.
When I woke up the next day, I first felt the sensation of my head resting on something. I sighed inwardly. My hangover made my head ache. I turned over and saw Jack's face. His eyes were closed, and his eyelashes fluttered slightly. His lips were red and slightly swollen. Wait, his lips? The events of last night replayed in my mind like a movie. How did I dare to do that? As I was fretting, a hand gently pulled my hands away from my face. Jack smiled.
Playing turtle early in the morning?
You're the turtle.
I couldn't help but stare at his lips. Noticing my gaze, he raised an eyebrow and bit his lip. I quickly looked away.
Weren't you the one who kissed me first?
I was drunk.
So you kiss people when you're drunk. I'll have to get you drunk more often.
Don't you dare say that.
I pounced on him, covering his mouth. Jack flipped over, easily pinning my hands above my head with his left hand. He nuzzled my nose.
Stop messing around, okay?
My face turned red, and the little devil inside me cheered for him. This month of living together had turned my initial fear into genuine affection. After all, it's just a game, so I closed my eyes. Thankfully, 3 seconds later, I felt the warmth of his lips. The intense heartbeat brought a rapid rise in body temperature, and we kissed passionately in a surge of love. After a while, I lay on Jack's shoulder, and he gently stroked my hair.
Aren't you getting up?
Are you going to deal with your uncle?
Although I was angry too, I didn't want him to get involved in anything dangerous. His hand paused.
Do you want me to let him go?
Not really. I just don't want you to have any burdens.
Don't worry, it won't be that fast. I need to get the inheritance back first.
Living in the moment is most important. Letting go of my worries, I took Jack's hand and went downstairs. John Carter was already sitting at the dining table, waiting. On the surface, the three of us maintained a harmonious atmosphere as we finished breakfast. After breakfast, Jack patted my shoulder, signaling me to stay in the living room, and then took John to the study. Although I was curious about their conversation, I didn't want to eavesdrop at the door. I went to the kitchen to wash the dishes to distract myself. Just as I finished and put the dishes away, I heard a loud thud from upstairs. I rushed out of the kitchen and saw John storming out of the study. He glared at me as he passed, then seeing Jack Miller still sitting at the desk, I breathed a sigh of relief and walked into the study.
What's going on?
Jack's expression was somewhat gloomy, but it softened a bit when he saw me.
He refuses to return the money and has completely fallen out with me.
Then why did he come here this time?
Heh, he even wants this house.
For a moment, I was also shocked by John Carter's audacity. He really thought he could take everything.
How shameless! What do you plan to do about him?
He gestured for me to sit on his lap, burying his head in the crook of my neck and nuzzling a couple of times.
Don't worry about it. I'll handle it myself.
That's not acceptable. After all, now I am your.
I paused. It seemed we hadn't confirmed our relationship yet.
You're what?
He leaned against me, laughing nonstop.
Great, you really don't know how to cherish what you have once you get it.
I struggled to get out of his embrace, but he tightened his grip around my waist, lifting me slightly. Startled, I clung to his neck.
So proactive, my girlfriend.
You're bullying me again.
He grabbed my hand and kissed my fingertips.
All right, stay home and leave everything to me. Be good and listen.
My face turned beet red with embarrassment, and I could only stay silent in his arms, feeling a strange shift in our dynamic. Maybe caring is the beginning of affection. I could clearly feel my heart leaning towards Jack. People often worry prematurely about farewells that haven't yet arrived. He once mentioned 2 months. I guessed that if I remained alive, I would naturally exit the game. Thinking of this, I pressed my cheek against Jack's shoulder. He seemed to sense my sudden drop in mood.
Still upset, my dear girlfriend?
Jack, why do you like me?
He hesitated for a moment before answering.
At first, I brought you back because I was afraid you'd expose me. Later, having you around made the house lively. Last time in the kitchen.
He cleared his throat, a bit embarrassed.
You looked up at me like a puppy I used to feed when I was a kid. I thought you were kind of cute.
Honestly, you probably like dogs more than me. I rolled my eyes and wanted to punch him, but he pulled my hand, bringing his handsome face close. The air seemed to freeze for a moment. I held my breath as he slowly leaned in.
You can breathe.
At his words, I exhaled softly, only to have my lips captured by his the next second. The sound of our kiss blended with the wind, filling the room with a sense of spring. After that day, Jack no longer let me do any chores. The feeling of a servant turning into the master was indeed quite nice. He disliked my cooking, so he took over the kitchen duties. Luckily, at least one of us could cook well. In just over a month, I gained 8 pounds.
I've gained so much weight.
I like hugging you with a bit more weight.
I'm just a human pillow.
Then why don't you go back to the guest room to sleep?
No, I was just joking.
In this cold winter, with Jack as my natural heater, there was no way I would sleep alone. Jack mostly stayed home with me, occasionally working on his laptop in the study, causing trouble for his uncle. I was still a bit worried that he might get caught before dealing with his uncle, but nothing happened. 2 months passed quickly, and one day Jack had to go out.
Today, I'll settle everything. Stay home and wait for me. When I return, I'll take you away.
Be careful.
He bent down to kiss my forehead and then turned to leave. I sat on the sofa, feeling a bit desolate. Over the past 2 months, Jack Miller had been incredibly attentive to me. Every laugh, hug, and kiss made me feel his deep affection. While I was sitting on the sofa, lost in my thoughts, a sudden knock on the door startled me. I quickly got up to open it. You didn't forget your coup. As soon as I opened the door, I was met with John Carter's menacing face. Terrified, I tried to shut the door, but he immediately wedged his foot in the gap. Realizing that closing the door was futile, I let go and turned to run towards the basement. I had barely reached the stairs when he grabbed my hair and dragged me back.
Ah!
I screamed in pain, struggling as he dragged me all the way to the rooftop terrace. With a forceful shove, John flung me against the table on the terrace. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. It hurt so much. Jack, please come and save me. I kept calling out his name in my mind.
Don't blame me, girl. It's Jack's fault for not knowing his place.
Before I could gather my thoughts, hurried footsteps sounded from downstairs. John yanked me up from the ground and pressed a knife to my neck.
Let her go first.
John yanked my hair back violently, causing me to cry out in pain.
She's in this situation because of you. Why did you have to come back and compete with me?
Do you even deserve it?
The loud roar made my ears ring, and a dull pain radiated from my back. Through tear-filled eyes, I looked at Jack, who was also staring at me.
That was mine to begin with. You've done so many wrong things for money. Imagine how disappointed Grandpa would be.
Jack was such a fool, trying to reason with a madman. I bit my lip, feeling even more like crying.
Ha ha ha. I've already taken so many lives. What do I have to fear? Your parents, that lawyer, the classmates who bullied you, and even the principal.
Jack wasn't the serial killer? I was stunned, realizing just how dangerous John, who was holding me hostage, truly was. It seemed like there was no way out. With that thought, I gave Jack a bleak smile.
Jack, don't worry about me. Go get help.
Shut up! Shut up!
John screamed, pressing the knife harder against my neck, causing a few drops of blood to seep out.
Don't touch her. Name your terms, just let her go.
All right. If you die, I'll let her go.
Jack gave me a longing look. I shook my head desperately, trying to stop him, my vision blurred by tears.
Can I come closer to see her one last time?
John, perhaps thinking he had already won, pressed the knife tightly against my skin and signaled Jack to approach. Jack walked up to me, gently wiping away my tears, his voice soft and smiling.
Why are you still such a crybaby?
It's all because of you.
It's all my fault. I shouldn't have brought you back. If it weren't for my whim, you wouldn't be going through this.
Are you abandoning me now?
He didn't answer. Instead, he kissed my lips lightly.
Be good.
Then, he suddenly grabbed John's right hand, which was holding the knife, and pulled it aside. Despite John's struggles, Jack firmly restrained him and threw him off the terrace. Narrator, tone, serious. Everything happened so suddenly that Emily didn't have time to react. After a brief moment of shock, she immediately leaned over the railing to look down. Below, John Carter lay on his back, a dagger piercing his chest. His eyes were wide open, filled with unwillingness. Jack Miller had fallen to the side, red spreading behind him, struggling to look in Emily's direction.
Emily, tone, shouting Jack!
Narrator, tone, sad. Emily's heart ached as if it were being squeezed. The impact on her back and the cut on her neck left her head spinning. She clung to the railing, barely managing to stand, and stumbled down the stairs.
System voice, tone. Friendly congratulations, player. You have cleared the game. You will be transported out in 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1.
Emily, tone, terrified, no! Let me see him one more time.
She had just reached the door and saw Jack Miller a few steps away. As she was about to rush out, the countdown ended, and darkness enveloped her once more. In the final second, his effort to smile was frozen in time. Narrator, tone, sad. Emily didn't get a chance to see her beloved one last time. He was forever trapped in that cold, digital world. When she regained consciousness, she saw the familiar ceiling above her. She struggled to sit up in bed, the emotions from the game still overwhelming her. The suffocating pain spread from her heart. She touched her face, feeling the cold traces of dried tears. Jack Miller's reluctant gaze was still vivid in her mind. Her nose tingled, and after a moment of silence, she couldn't hold back anymore. She buried her head in her knees and cried out loud.
Emily, Tone, sad, I wish I could see him again, talk to him a little more.
Just then, her phone rang.
Emily, Tone, serious, hello.
Caller, Tone, friendly hello, is this Emily Smith?
Emily, Tone, curious, who is this?
Caller, Tone, professional, this is the game company you collaborated with. We just received a message from the terminal that you have cleared the game. We now invite you to the company to fill out an experience survey. Once completed, we will issue your payment.
Emily, Tone, relieved, okay, send me the address.
Eager to learn more about the game, Emily immediately took a cab to the company after receiving the address. After registering at the front desk, she followed a staff member down a corridor to an office.
Staff member, Tone, friendly, the game you experienced was inspired by our boss. He is waiting for you inside.
Emily nodded and entered the room. A man in a suit was looking down at the documents on his desk.
Emily, Tone, shy, hello, I am.
He looked up at the sound of her voice, and she froze upon seeing his face. How could it be Jack Miller?
Boss, Tone, professional Ms. Smith? Please, have a seat.
He didn't seem to react. Emily stared at his face as she slowly sat down, suddenly realizing he must have used his own likeness to create the game character. Not her Jack Miller. She felt a bit disappointed.
Boss, Tone, serious Ms. Smith, what are your thoughts on the game?
Emily, Tone, serious, the starting point was a bit dangerous, she paused, and the diary entries were too brief, making it hard to deduce.
Boss, Tone, professional, alright, I've noted that.
Seeing her still staring at him, he spoke again.
Boss, Tone, curious, is there anything else?
Emily, Tone, hopeful, I want to know if the game data is saved after clearing it. Can the ending be altered by modifying the data?
He looked puzzled.
Boss, Tone, curious, why do you ask?
Emily, Tone, sad, I have some regrets. Thinking of Jack Miller made her feel sad again. I hope the data can be retained for the public release so I can enter the game again.
Boss, Tone, serious, I see, but this was a beta test with data deletion. The data is automatically erased after recording, so we might not be able to help you.
Narrator, Tone, sad, no chance. The strong sense of sorrow surged up, and she lowered her head, not wanting him to see her tears. She just wanted to talk to Jack Miller. It was just a game, after all. She had fallen too deep. Narrator, Tone, sad as my tears flowed freely, I heard soft footsteps approaching. A gentle hand wrapped around my neck, pulling me into a warm embrace.
Jack, Tone, cheerful, why are you still such a crybaby?
Before I could react, another hand slipped under my knees, lifting me up and placing me on his lap.
Me, Tone, sobbing Jack. Jack Miller?
Jack, Tone, friendly, it's me. He reached out to wipe my tears.
Me, Tone, confused, you, the game, how come?
Maybe it was the 3 months we spent together, but he seemed to understand my incoherent words.
Jack, keep Tone, serious, I was in the game too, but my consciousness was controlled by the storyline. This game was originally designed out of personal vendetta, but my team accidentally sent it out for testing.
Me, tone, stunned. So in the game, it was all you?
Jack, tone, comforting. Yes, it was me holding you, and it was me kissing you. As he spoke, Jack pecked my lips.
Realizing what he said, I started crying harder.
Me, Tone, shouting who told you to go down with John Carter. Heck, do you know how much that traumatized me?
Jack, tone, comforting. The storyline had to be completed to clear the game. I couldn't let him hurt you, you hate pain the most.
Jack, tone, hopeful. Stop crying, I'm here now.
I was both angry and touched.
Me, Tone, angry. Don't try to fool me. Why did you design this game?
Jack, tone, serious. John Carter was already caught, but I still felt the need for personal revenge, so I made the game.
So it was really his personal experience. I touched his face and cried uncontrollably in his arms.
Jack, tone, relieved. Looks like I can't tease you anymore, seeing how upset our little scaredy cat gets.
Me, tone, feeling wronged. So you pretended not to know me when you first came in.
Seeing how miserable I was, Jack suppressed a laugh.
Jack, tone, shy. My bad.
I was so mad I wanted to punch him back into the game.
Me, tone, serious. Give me the money, I'm leaving.
He started to act shamelessly, leaning against me.
Jack, tone, playful. All right, but take me with you.
Me, tone, unfriendly. I only want the money, not you.
Jack, tone, pitiful. But no one else wants me.
I was still not satisfied.
Me, tone, serious. Fine, give me a reason to take you home.
Jack gazed at me affectionately, lifting my hands to his cheeks.
Jack, tone, hopeful. I hope this cute little puppy can adopt the stray.
Me, tone, playful. Woof.